In this total waste of 2 hours of my time, you will see the following. Number 1. Jeremy admits that he mutes people and even admits that it's hypocritical. And number 2. Anti-flat earthers are unable to define atmospheric pressure upon request. And number 3. They are unable to define gravity upon request. And number 4. They refuse to accept that they deny all evidence contrary to their opinions. And number 5. Jeremy insists that the teaching of New Earth creation is illegal, despite being shown how it isn't. And number 6. There is literally no point in discussing science with these people. These people are fanatics. They are delusional. They insist that the definitions of words are unimportant so long as they can ram it home in any way that they see fit. Brace yourself for 2 hours that saves your time talking with these idiots, as I've done it for you.
See, you want to get in.
Jem, I was just wondering if why was it that you told Blue Marble Science that you quote ran me off YouTube?
Who said that?
You. I heard you say it with my own 2 ears.
When did I say that?
Yesterday. Your words were...
ran you off YouTube?
Yeah, that was what you told Blue Marble Science. You said
I don't think I said that, did I?
Yeah, you did. I've got it. I can
Are
play
you
it.
still on? Who cares? Are you still on YouTube? Have you done anything recently?
Yeah, but you're lying, though, Jeremy. You're lying.
Well, how am I lying?
Because you told Blue Marble Science that you, quote, ran me off YouTube.
I think I'm not... Well, if I did say that, and I don't think I did, but I probably
You
said...
did. I can play it. Would you like to hear it?
I probably said, oh, yeah, I'd like to hear it. Let's hear it.
Excellent. Give me 2 minutes. I'll dig it back out. But I just wanted to make sure.
When you were saying...
Go ahead. Go ahead. A person who does fuck all on YouTube these days. Go ahead. Go ahead. Guy who's all over YouTube every day, always producing a video.
Know why you were lying, Jeremy.
Guy who's definitely not going to run off YouTube. Go ahead. Have we got the
know why you were lying again, Jeremy?
Coming from you.
Anthony, was that the one?
35 feet. Mister, you're a paedophile. Mister, any old bullshit you can think of. I don't think you get to call anybody else a liar, Anthony. Fucking mole. Have you got the clip? Hurry up.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll come back to you.
All right.
Can I ask,
I think it was when you were talking about, I don't know if it was here. You said that you ran Anthony off from here. I don't know if it was from here or you might.
I ran him off from here. Yeah, that was what I ran him off from. Yeah, I did. I didn't say I ran him off YouTube. Fucking moron.
Well, I don't know. I remember that.
And I did. You know, I kept shouting at him and I wouldn't shut up and I was just badgering him and wouldn't let him answer. And you know, he left.
Yeah, I don't remember. You said something similar. I'm not sure it was the exact same words as Anthony.
It was when people were in the chat were accusing me of running people off, and I think they said I'd run somebody off, whoever it was who had muted Jin. And I said I haven't run him off. He's here and he's unmuted. And then I said I don't run people off, and I said well maybe I have done. And then I said Anthony. So that was.
We should record
run him off YouTube, fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, we wanted to stay for a while, a little bit, maybe. No.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
We want to be able to engage. So you got any questions right, for him. Place it better off with him and out. You can get into the egg test.
If he thinks this is a winner.
You've got the man himself here.
Get in here, Mark. Get in here, Mark. This is your time, I feel. You owe me, Mark Taylor.
You've got the egg test man himself here. Right? So, I think in all of our interests, we, dig deeper into how he debunk gravity, he measure, these people asking all that stuff. And, I think we can get a lengthy discussion.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. When we get this little thingy out of the way.
I bet it's that. I'm sure it's that. I bet it's that.
Yeah, I'll bet it's that. Because I did say that. I did say I ran him off. But I was talking about you.
The other guy was asking for examples of gas pressure without a vessel, without a box or whatever. Would an inside of a fusion reactor be an example?
No, that won't work.
That's inside a container. That's where they keep the vacuum.
Yeah, you keep on thinking.
You keep on thinking.
Anthony, I know what you're talking about now. You've misunderstood. What I said. Listen. Just listen for a minute. What was happening was in the chat, I was having a row with Jin, and I muted him a few times. And in the YouTube chat, someone said, Jem will run all the flat earthers off, or Jem's run Jin off, or something like that. And I said, I haven't run him off. He's still here and he's unmuted. And then I said, I don't run people off. And then I said, well, actually, I have run one person off, Anthony, but not off YouTube, off this server. Because when you came in here the last time... You did say
another guy as well. Sundance Kid or something like that.
What?
Sundance Kid or something like that. I wasn't familiar with the other guy you said.
With somebody in the chat. So I was talking about when I ran you off this server, because I felt that I did, because when you came in here that time and we had a very sort of heated exchange, and I muted you and I wouldn't let you talk, and you kept trying to talk and I kept muting you, and eventually you left. And I felt that I had, I won't say treated you unfairly, because I think you probably deserved it, but I think I treated you in a way that would make you leave. So that is what I was referring to, not running you off YouTube.
So 2 questions.
Although you have done fuck all on YouTube recently, but go ahead.
2 questions. Given that you admit and accept that you were muting Jin for being rude,
Right.
Isn't that the very same criticism that you criticised Nathan for why you guys don't go in there because of Nathan's mute button? Wouldn't that therefore be hypocritical, Jeremy?
I do criticise Nathan for that, but I mean, you could look at it like that. Yes, you could just say I'm a hypocrite. What I do is I facilitate a conversation, and with Jin, that requires that he is muted. So this is something that is selectively deployed for people who just won't shut the fuck up. Of which Jin is one. I mean, it has to be said, most flat earthers are a bit that way, but not all of them. But Jin, he gets it worse than anybody, because if I don't do that, you just can't have a conversation, because he just doesn't shut up ever.
So given
Nathan
what you've just
tries to obstruct the conversation,
whereas Oakley does it to everyone.
Hang on. Given what you've just admitted, and you accepted that you did that to Jim because he won't shut up. That is the exact reason why Nathan calls it fundy muting, because people rumpusing continually. So you can at least
that isn't the only time that he uses his mute button, is it?
It really is.
The other distinction is that
I understand he's your cult leader and you love him, but I don't buy that, Anthony. I think he's like you. He's profoundly dishonest. It
seems to me it's hypocritical for you to criticise Nathan yet do the same thing yourself.
The thing is,
no, it's not. It's really not. But if you want to see it that way, I think you're pretty much bound to see it that way, and I don't really care. I do what I need to do to manage a conversation here for 50-odd people. Oakley isn't facing anything like that, and he deploys his mute button just so he can preach, so he can scream stuff about salty balls and just generally behave badly.
Because you don't understand most of the arguments, Jeremy. You can't get the rebuttal in when you say silly things like atmospheric pressure is not the same as gas pressure.
But it's not.
Okay, so do tell me how is it different?
Well, go ahead.
Do tell me, how is it different, sir?
One's measuring the atmosphere. The other is useful when doing chemistry.
So let's have a definition for atmospheric pressure then. Can we have a definition, please?
Say that again.
Can we have a definition for atmospheric pressure? Because I heard somebody citing different definitions for it before, and I thought, let's explore them, because when we apply those alternative definitions, they kind of debunk the claim that you can have an atmospheric pressure in a vacuum. So let's have some of the definitions that were being cited before.
So what do you mean an atmospheric pressure in a vacuum?
The definitions of gas pressure. Have you got them, Jake? Is Jake still here?
Yeah, none of them reference a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean that's like two. Those are two completely. How would you even say that? Vacuum is the absence of gas molecules, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to have gas pressure in a vacuum.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that the atmospheric pressure is measurable, and you notice as you go up with altitude, it gets less and less and less and less, and it approaches zero. It never gets to zero, but it approaches zero. And that is in no way, shape, or form analogous to gas pressure, which is what you measure at a particular altitude or in a particular controlled environment with instrumentation and generally containers to keep, separate gases from other gases. But they're not analogous. One is literally the atmosphere of the Earth, which gravity pulls towards the surface, and the other is just a section of experimentation or studying done on the gases here in controlled environments.
Okay, so gravity is not a force. It hasn't been since World War One. Why are you guys citing that it still is?
Yeah. We still running with this argument. You still trying to get mileage out of it?
Because it's a useful measurement. Using sophistry.
When you say gravity, that's one of those words that requires definition and explanation for what it actually is. So can we have a definition for what you guys think gravity is, please?
Sophistry.
The downward acceleration that causes things with mass to have weight. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's
when
not
you say
definitely
gravity has
effects that gravity has on everything around the Earth. That's not
the definition for gravity.
Well, let's be clear. We're not talking about the laws or theories. We're talking about the thing.
Say again.
So it doesn't matter whether you believe gravity exists or not. You can measure the atmosphere. What you attribute to the cause of it is irrelevant. You can measure the atmosphere. You can measure the pressure, and you can measure that it decreases.
Requires the cause of the effect to be identified, and if you can't identify the cause, then that's not science. But when you say with the word gravity pulling on the atmosphere, we know gravity is not a pull. It's defined since 1915. So why are you redefining the term gravity to suit your model?
You're just wrong.
Because it's useful and it's accurate and it's measurable. So again, whether
it's wrong, why would you do that when it's wrong?
Show that it's wrong because it's measurable.
No, you don't know what you're measuring if you can't even define it.
Okay, so let's go with that. I don't know what I'm measuring, but guess what? We do measure it, and we measure a decrease in atmospheric pressure as we go up with altitude. Do you deny that?
No, but we can also explain and demonstrate that. But can you demonstrate your explanation for how the gradient is formed?
I don't need to demonstrate the explanation. You and I both agree that with altitude increase, the atmospheric pressure decreases. Done deal. So when you say the atmosphere can't exist next to a vacuum, that isn't true, because as you approach zero, you approach less and less and less and less, which at some point we consider a vacuum.
Yeah, but you haven't got a definition for the cause for what you believe is pulling it back. You can't define the thing that you're talking about.
Call it whatever you want. The observation still stands. We measurably see a decrease in atmospheric pressure as we go up in altitude. Nothing you say, no spinning of words changes that.
Right. So if you're going to want to just call it weight.
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter what we call it. So in that case, we'll call it and then that would be acceptable. Is that okay?
That would be hard for us to repeat, though, I feel. Can you choose a easier to repeat?
Well, the point is we can demonstrate both the gradient formation inside a container and we can demonstrate gas pressure inside a container. Yet you guys can't demonstrate the thing that you claim.
What creates the gradient?
Do you have to eat on the microphone, though, Anthony? Can you not get through this without sustenance, maybe?
Anthony, what creates the gradient in the container?
It doesn't matter what we can demonstrate it and prove it, but you won't accept it even if we demonstrate it.
What creates the pressure gradient inside the container? What's causing
it? Doesn't matter. I'm not making any claim other than I can show it. But if I explain it to you guys and prove it with real world demonstration, you guys flip me off. So there's no point.
Well, the truth is an acceleration, because we can produce gradients in the container in any direction we want via acceleration. So we know that the reason why a stationary container has a gradient within it is because it's undergoing acceleration. We name that acceleration gravity, but you can name it whatever you want.
It's called digging a little bit deeper, Anthony. It seems like you just want to scratch the surface and then not hold a stance once challenged on it.
So what you call digging a little bit deeper is what I call sophistry and lying. We have a definition for the word gravity, and it's not the way you're describing it.
Do you agree with the statement that the pressure gradient created within the container is created by an acceleration? Do you agree with that statement?
No.
Huh?
Why not?
You don't agree with that. So then what mechanism is
We're
creating?
not talking about things that I say. We're talking about your claim that we've got gas pressure in a vacuum. You explain that with gravity, and when I ask you for a definition for gravity, you're unable to define it within current physics.
Anthony, we've been playing this game for many years, so we know exactly how this game works, okay? The name of the game is to try to poke holes in things that we say and not make any statements of your own. But what you're doing is you are making statements of your own.
Yeah, you don't know what the gravity is.
Don't you think it's interesting that you can't answer a simple question like, what is creating the pressure gradient on a stationary container? You're not willing to answer that because you know it will just destroy all the things that you're saying. You just want to say, well, it's just magic. Should we just call it magic, Anthony?
Don't twist the words. I can explain it.
They don't care.
You think it's useful to just call it magic? Would it be more useful to say, no, it's not acceleration, it's just magic, even though we know it's acceleration, because we can make the pressure gradient go away by simply dropping the object, in which the acceleration is no longer affecting the object.
So don't change my words. I can explain it. I can demonstrate it, but I refuse to do that to you people because you dismiss it. So let's go back to the point that I'm
about your salty egg.
Go into the conversation.
The egg.
So you have the information. You don't want to give it to us. So then the conversation's over here. Okay, next.
I think he means his egg. I think we can assume he means the egg.
No, I don't mean the egg. The whole conversation has not come to an end because I refuse to explain and demonstrate scientifically how we have a gradient inside a container.
You demand that
all you have to do is give an explanation. We're not bothered.
No, I don't have to at all. And that's reversing the burden of proof.
No, I think you reversed the burden of proof. Clearly.
Demonstrate a quality of your position. Demonstrate a quality of your assertion.
For how things.
The claim is, gentlemen, the claim is that the gradient is caused by gravity, and you guys are unable to define gravity.
No, the claim is the gradient is created by an acceleration, and we've chosen to name that acceleration gravity.
Okay, so what causes the acceleration?
It's irrelevant to the question of what creates the gradient. We don't need to know what creates acceleration to know that there's an acceleration that's creating the gradient.
We know what causes
acceleration could be by magic acceleration creating pixies could be creating the acceleration, but we know that the end result is that the acceleration creates a pressure gradient across the container. This can be duplicated all sorts of different ways by creating our own acceleration, by looking at the pressure gradient when we flip the container upside down and see the pressure gradient rearrange itself again. This can all be demonstrated that it's an acceleration that's creating the pressure gradient. Now, the fact that you guys want to just pretend like the acceleration isn't there is just silly. And it doesn't matter what the source of the acceleration is. There's an acceleration.
You're misrepresenting my position and you keep interrupting and it's going on from... Listen, we know what gives accelerations in current physics today. Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. So we know what causes acceleration. So when you say the cause of the gradient is an acceleration, and I say, what causes the acceleration? The answer is a force. But you don't seem to have a force because gravity is not a force. So what causes the acceleration?
Weight is a force. Both Newton and Einstein agreed that weight was a force. And they're both...
So what's the definition of weight then, please?
And they're both describing an effect which will result in a force.
Yeah. So what is the definition of weight in science today, please?
It's a force of gravity. Now, notice I highlighted the word of.
It's a defined term. Can I have the definition for weight in science today, please?
Okay. Force of gravity.
No, that's not sufficient. That is the incorrect answer. Weight is a defined term in physics. Can I have the definition, please?
If you disagree with my
definition,
if you disagree with my definition, go ahead and give us yours.
Right, exactly.
You guys are supposed to know all the answers.
Well, Anthony, you've read a specific definition, and you're hoping that we will just hit on it. And until we do, you just keep getting to say, "No, you're wrong." Just say what your definition is. Say how you disagree with the definition that's been provided. Idiot.
Because it's a defined term like gravity, and it's not the one that you've just cited. It's
so what is it? What is the one that you want to use?
Not me that wants to use it. It's the definition in physics today. It's mass times the acceleration.
There's no definition of physics written in stone on the side of a mountain somewhere.
Yes, there is.
There'll be varying definitions. So what is go ahead and tell us your definition that's written on the side of Nathan Oakley's temple. Go ahead.
Jeremy, stop shouting. Stop shouting. You don't need to shout. Weight is a defined term in physics today. It is defined as the mass times the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, we know that there is no acceleration due to gravity. Gravity is not a force.
We understand. Go ahead, doofus.
We're looking for the formula. Cool. Okay.
Whoever it was.
All right. So now we have weight is mass times acceleration.
Yeah, we have weight and we experience weight.
Sorry, you've done it again. That's not the definition. It's weight equals mass times acceleration due to gravity. So we've got the term gravity again, and we know it's not a force. So
hold on a second, Anthony. What did we learn from Einstein? That gravity is a fictitious force. What is a fictitious force? Does that mean it's not a real force? No, it's just a force that is not a force in all frames of reference. The same thing as centrifugal force, but we all agree that centrifugal force is a real thing, right? Like if I spin a can with you in it fast enough, the centrifugal force will crush you and kill you, even though it's a fictitious force. The effects of it are very much real. It's just not a force in all frames of reference. That's all that means. And gravity is the same way. It's not a force in all frames of reference. That's why it's a fictitious force. That's what Einstein said.
You're using the term gravity, but you're not defining it, and you don't seem to know it.
And Einstein said in his paper, in his letter to the London Times, that gravity is one of the forces. So he didn't supersede Newton, and he said he couldn't supersede Newton at all. So
we know that he superseded.
You've read that. You've read that paper, Sleeping Warrior.
I'm going to block Sean so that I don't hear
lie
Sean.
anyway.
Don't block anyone, Anthony. It just makes it difficult. If he goes on too much, I'll stop him. Don't block anyone.
Yeah, well, okay, let me address Sean and only Sean, nobody else but Sean. Fight the Flat Earth invited George Musa onto his show, and he confirmed the position with Einstein, and he demonstrated by his own work, he explained and elaborated on his own work, that Einsteinian gravitation is the current position in science. It did supersede. He did confirm that. Thanks, Fight the Flat Earth.
No, he didn't. And he George Musa explained on that show that you're full of shit.
As a force. That doesn't
Can I have a timestamp for where you believe you said that, please?
Need to work it
all you have to go to your timestamp where he says gravity is not a force, and then just get the other half of that sentence that he said, instead of pretending that he only said the first half, which is what your entire argument rests on, you quoting half of a sentence.
No, it doesn't. It's defined. Gravity is defined, gentlemen, and none of you seems to know what it is.
You are defining reality using half a sentence. No. That's not the way to. That's not good.
The continuation of the sentence was: we can, we do, we must think of Newtonian gravitation as a force. That doesn't mean it really is a force, but we don't have to work at the really is level.
Case fucking closed, because everyone else on the fucking planet uses Newtonian gravity the exact same way that you just read it, and it works every
from those in current physics.
And if you don't like it, why don't you give us your definition of the acceleration we experience here on Earth, and we'll call it whatever you call it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what I call it. It matters what science calls it. And it's not a force.
I thought science didn't get to name things. Isn't that part of your doctrine? Science can't speak, right? Science is just a method. Remember? You're forgetting the doctrine. You want to get back to the temple, dude.
Science is defined, isn't it? It's the observation of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. That's the definition.
So we observe things falling. Thank you. Next. We call it gravity. Next.
Yeah, but you might call it gravity, but gravity is a defined term that you guys don't seem to know the meaning of. So we haven't got an explanation for the acceleration.
But you do acknowledge. You are acknowledging.
I haven't finished talking. We don't have an explanation for the acceleration that you guys describe as causing the gradients, but we can. We can define it, describe it, demonstrate it, and it's true. It's real world.
Yeah, and the gradient is a result of acceleration.
You acknowledge though that there is an acceleration, that our objects are behaving as if they're accelerating, right? As if the ground is accelerating, right?
They are accelerating, and we know the cause of that acceleration, and it's not the force of gravity that you guys insist it is. It's not.
What is
it?
Illuminate us. What is it?
Relative density disequilibrium.
Go ahead and explain it to us. Tell us, even though you said you weren't going to explain it before.
No,
go ahead.
I'm explain it to you people because you don't accept anything that we say. But what I can say,
you're morons on the internet who don't know what you're talking about. Don't forget that, Anthony. You're an idiot on the internet. Nobody should accept anything you say
because you guys, your explanation is fallacious. It's fundamentally flawed because gravity is not a force. It cannot cause an acceleration, and it doesn't explain the gradient.
Anthony,
well, hold on a second. Just a second. Just 1 second. He said gravity cannot cause an acceleration. However, Einstein defined it to actually be able to cause an acceleration. So you just denied Einstein. Isn't that wonderful, Anthony?
So again, Anthony, what is your term for the acceleration we experience? And we'll go with that.
If I may just say one thing, please. Einstein was a spunk stain. Okay, Einstein was a spunk stain. Don't bring him up. He has no value.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jin. Fuck off.
So Anthony, what's your term? We'll use that with that. What do you want to call it? The acceleration.
Well, we can't call it gravity, can we? Because we know what the defined term of gravity is, and we know that it can't cause an acceleration. Therefore, the gradient cannot be caused by gravity. It's not a force to cause
hold on,
acceleration.
you did it again, because Einstein says gravitation can cause an acceleration. So you're disagreeing. You are disagreeing with modern science in this case.
Okay, show me where Einstein says that, please.
Right. The four-dimensional mathematics that he put forward, the masses in a monotonic time are going to accelerate to one another. That's a consequence of exactly how Einstein defined it.
Show me where he says that, please.
It's in the definition. That's the mathematics he defined.
No, it isn't. It's in the definition for
Anybody
what?
got it written in crayons?
It's in the definition for what? In the definition for what?
He doesn't mean that.
While he finds that, Anthony, what is your definition for the acceleration we experience? What do you want to call it?
We're not making any claims. We're challenging the claims of the ball earthers.
Yeah.
Okay, but
we can't possibly face challenge to any of the bullshit that we spew out every day. So we're not making any claims.
No, there's no point in coming to it. There's no point in explaining something in a religious server like this. It's like going into a Muslim guy server and explaining how Christianity works. They're never going to accept it.
We're never ever going to accept made up bullshit, Anthony. You're right.
Yeah, why are you here if you don't want to have communication? If you don't want to have an exchange of ideas? We're willing to give you our side. But you're like, no, you can have our side. We're only going to refute your side.
I'd like to know what your idea is for the definition for the word gravity. I've asked it about 10 times.
Yeah, we'll play the flat Earth game. We'll bring things to you because you're entitled to have other adults bring stuff to you, and then you can tell us creative ways that you disbelieve it. Shall we play that game?
Reversing the burden of proof, Jeremy. We don't have to do that in science because
I'm not reversing the burden of proof.
Here you are.
I don't have anything to prove. The Earth
you have to prove.
The Earth is proven to be spherical. The Earth is proven to be spherical. Gravity, gravity is proven to be a thing as we understand it. All of these things are established facts, Anthony. So I haven't got a burden. I haven't got a burden to prove anything. If you want to believe nonsense, you can. But if you honestly believe that human beings, that humanity is being lied to on this massive scale and has been for hundreds of years at least, then you have a moral responsibility to try and advance the idea. And if you're going to advance the idea, you need to do a lot better than we're not making any claims. You're just playing a game on the internet. You're a moron.
Are you done?
Pretty much.
I'm pointing out to your audience that you're using the term gravity and you don't have a definition for it.
We don't need one. You're pretending.
Yeah, you do, because if your definition
that we require one, and we don't. We've given you a definition in the context that we're using it. It's an acceleration. It's as simple as that. We don't have to know the cause or do any more than that. We can measure that acceleration. It's as simple as that.
So what? And we can calculate the acceleration, but does that mean that we can calculate or measuring the acceleration identifies the cause? No.
Well, I don't think anyone said that, but you.
Right.
You just said we can measure
a different thing a different way.
We did say that,
but we cannot identify the cause. We cannot identify the cause. We cannot identify the cause by quoting half a sentence of someone. and saying, there, that establishes the cause. It doesn't.
That hasn't happened, though, has it, Jeremy?
What?
It hasn't happened, quoting half a sentence to define gravity, because you haven't even got half the sentence defined.
No, that's what you do. You use half the sentence.
I'm only asking for the definition, for the explanation of gravity. And
that's how you get to your definition. Why are you talking? That's how you get to your definition of relative density disequilibrium. Because a man said half a sentence and you did an 8-year-old science experiment. Because you think Newton, and I quote, Newton and Einstein missed the egg experiment. You revealed something that they missed by dropping an egg in some salty water. You fucking delusional moron.
Respectfully, Jeremy, I'm not the one claiming the word gravity and then is unable to define it. And when we try and define it, we get absolutely nowhere.
We have defined it. An acceleration. There you go. It's an acceleration. That's it.
No, that's not a definition. That is not the definition for gravity. Gravity cannot cause an acceleration. It is not the explanation for the gradient.
Oh, are we back to guess the definition that's in Anthony's head game? Are we doing that game again?
Definition of science. It is a defined term. And we know what.
Anthony, there's none of these things are written in stone anywhere. There isn't.
Yes, they are, Jeremy.
No, they're not. There isn't one single definition, word for word, that you could just go to and say it's that. That's not how it works.
Yes, it is. In the same way that weight is defined as mass times the acceleration due to gravity, gravity is also a defined term, Jeremy, and you guys struggle with it. In fact, you fail at it miserably. So you cannot explain the cause of the acceleration in the gradients because you don't even know the definition of the term.
We don't need to. All we need to do is measure the acceleration.
All right, okay, so measure it, and then I calculate it.
And know that it always
we haven't got the cause identified.
You can live your entire life never knowing the cause of gravity, but you can still measure it every day, and it will do the exact same thing every day, and it will be consistent and measurable and predictable. And that's really all you need to be useful and to form hypotheses and then use that data to create things like, I don't know, rockets that can negate the pull of gravity and go into orbit.
When you measure something and you don't know what it is that you're measuring because you're unable to define it in this instance, how useful is that to you?
It's very useful because we have a measurement.
So I can equally say you don't understand.
We do know what we're measuring. We're measuring the acceleration. We do know
we're measuring the acceleration, but what causes it? Because that's the interest of science. That's the cause.
Right, but that's the thing we don't know. But it doesn't matter.
But do you know what it is? It's a defined term, Jeremy. You guys don't seem to know it yet.
Well, you can call it gravity, but then you're saying, well, you don't know what gravity is, and that's fine. We don't need to.
I'm asking you to explain
what we need to know about
acceleration in the gradient.
This argument stems from needing to know how atmospheric gases behave.
This argument stems from your explanation for the gradient.
Can I finish, Anthony? Can I finish? The atmospheric.
You always finish, Jeremy.
Well, I'm not. I got one sentence out, and you were talking all over me. That's where this came from. That's where this argument stemmed from. We need to determine how atmospheric gases behave. To do that, we need to know that there's an acceleration that affects them, and we know that. We don't need to know why there is. We just need to know. We just need to know. No, we don't. We need to know that it's there. We need to know that it's there and it's consistent in the way that it is.
Jeremy, we know that you can't have gas pressure without collisions with surfaces. They need to bounce off something. We've got the Earth, the surface of the Earth, but then if all other directions are the vacuum of space, what stops them from continuing in their trajectory in line with Newton's first law of motion, which states an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force?
Weight.
Relative density.
Relative density works too, yes.
What causes the molecules to change direction?
Relative density.
Relative density.
Yeah, they're going back to their equilibrium down at the surface of the Earth. Duh.
So relative density is now a force.
No, we're not talking about relative. We're talking about in your model. What is it that turns the molecules back to Earth?
We're fine with this argument.
It pulls them back to the surface.
We acknowledge your answer is relative density, but we're talking about the current rhetoric. Your model. You're not allowed to change your model, guys. You've got to push your model. Not my model, not my belief, not what you're saying is my belief, your model. So in your model, what turns the molecules back?
I love the way you keep telling us what our answers to all the questions are going to be. This is brilliant.
Yeah, so what do you want, Anthony? We've given you the gravity is it answer, and you've said no. We've given you the relative density is it answer.
I didn't say no. I asked you to define it. I just asked you to define it.
Define what?
Gravity. I've asked about 15 times.
Yes, we know what gravity is. It has a definition. It has a definition, in fact, because it's something that we have defined and experienced and decided to give a name to it.
Great. It's just a way for you to take this to a stupid, illogical, infinite regress. Because that is where it would go.
Regress. Ask for a definition.
Because when I give, you aren't asking for the definition, you're asking for the cause, aren't you? The definition has to include the cause. So if I say the cause of gravity is the great universal banana, you'll just say, okay, so what's the cause of the great universal banana? And I'll say the great universal banana tree, and you'll say, what's the cause of the great universal banana tree? You can't do anything. Can I finish, Anthony? You'll say, can I finish, Anthony? Can I finish, Anthony? All right, I will mute you so I can finish.
No. I object to you misrepresenting me. I didn't say that. If you say gravity, I will then say, can you define that, please? I won't say, well, what causes the whatever it was that you said.
We did define it. And then you said, but you don't know the cause.
No, nobody's defined it. I'm still waiting for
it's an acceleration.
No, an acceleration needs a force to cause it. We've been through this. You need
so you need to know the cause, don't you? So you want the cause.
You can't have an acceleration without a force.
You won't accept our definition unless we give you a cause. And if we give you a cause, you'll want to know the cause of the cause.
No,
and if we give you the cause of the cause, you'll want to know the cause of the cause of the cause.
No, Jeremy. I'm just applying
until we know the cause of the cause of the cause of the forever and ever and ever, we can't know anything about how an object falls. That's retarded, idiotic bullshit. Jeremy. As per usual, the standard route to ignorance propagated by Oakley and his temple.
Incorrect, Jeremy. Incorrect. It is not an infinite regress because when you say it's an acceleration, we apply Newton's first law, which requires that you need a force for an acceleration, and I'm asking you to identify the force. It's not an infinite regress as you wrongfully claim. I'm asking you to identify the force. It's very simple.
And we identified the force, and then you said you want a definition of the force, and then we gave you a definition of the force, and you said, no, I need the cause of the force.
No, that's not what I said. You're lying again, Jeremy. I said gravity is not a force. It cannot accelerate matter.
Right, it's gravity then. That's the reason.
And gravity is not a force. It cannot and does not accelerate matter, Jeremy.
Well, that's just your idiotic assertion. Have you got any evidence?
This is why I asked for the definition.
Do you have any evidence? Do you have any evidence to support that claim beyond half a sentence that a man once said on YouTube?
Yes, I could give you 12 current physicists that tell us clearly that gravity is not a force. Where would you like me to start? Pick a number between 1 and...
No, that isn't the claim that you just made. You said that gravity can't make objects move. So go ahead and give us the citations for that.
I can, Jeremy. I can
go
give
ahead.
You 12
Let's hear them.
Okay, bear with me 2 seconds.
And I got to follow
this game. I'll have to pull out my phone.
But Anthony, I don't want you to read something else that you interpret to mean that gravity can't make objects move. I want to see the words "gravity can't make objects move."
So
I think you said something even more. I think you said even more than that. Can anyone remember exactly the phrase he used when he said that?
So, would you accept Brian Cox speaking to an audience in the University of Manchester, where he says literally, "Gravity is not a force"? Would you accept that?
No.
Or would you?
No, not in any way. That doesn't even begin to support your claim. That requires your faulty interpretation to make it work.
And what are all these physicists
calling gravity?
if we don't call it a force?
Question I asked is, Would you accept Brian Cox saying the word?
I did answer the question you asked. The answer is no. The answer is no, Anthony. I will not accept that because that requires your faulty interpretation to make it have the meaning that you want it to have. I want to see something that actually says that meaning, not you interpreting it to mean that because somebody said gravity is not a force and somebody else said that you need a force to make things move, and somebody else said some other half a sentence somewhere, and you added them all together and made some bullshit.
Okay, so I can read from Einstein's theory of general relativity. Would you accept that?
Go ahead, let's hear it. Does it say the words gravity can't make things move or whatever it was you said?
It says the equivalent words to that.
No.
Exactly the same.
Well, go on then, let's hear it.
Okay, bear with me. I'll dig it out. 1 sec.
And I'll try and find out what exactly it was you said, because I'm not.
Yeah, you do that.
Quite right.
Gravity cannot and does not cause acceleration.
I mean, Brian Cox is the best one. That he does say objects don't move. You remember, I've taught you that the object is floating in free space, and the Earth is moving towards that object. So gravity doesn't make objects move. Right.
I want to know why I can't use relative density.
And I've told you
it's
all
borrowing from your model that you created to be true.
Lessons and sessions on: does the object move towards the Earth, or is the Earth moving towards the object?
Great, Jeremy. I have a citation for you. It is chapter. Oh, I don't know what number that is. It's in the Roman numerals X1, X, whatever number that is. It is entitled The Gravitational Field. And this is Einstein's own words. Quote, "If we pick up a stone and then let it go, why does it fall to the ground? The usual answer to this question is, quote, because it is attracted by the Earth. Modern physics formulates the answer rather differently, not similar, not refined, differently, for the following reason. As a result of the more careful study of electromagnetic phenomena, we have come to regard action at a distance as, quote, a process impossible without the intervention of some intermediary medium. Medium being the key word. If, for instance, a magnet attracts a piece of iron, we cannot be content to regard this as meaning that the magnet acts directly on the iron. You guys would call that mass attracting mass. Through the we cannot be content to regard this as meaning that the magnet acts directly on the iron through intermediary empty space. But we are constrained to imagine, after the manner of Faraday, that the magnet always calls into something being physically real in the space around it. That something being that we call a magnetic field. So he's gone from medium to a field, now to a magnetic field, and he goes on to say, in its turn, this magnetic field operates on the piece of iron, so that the latter strives to move towards the magnet. We shall not discuss here the justification for this incidental conception, which is somewhat arbitrary one. We shall only mention that with its aid, electromagnetic phenomena can be theoretically represented much more satisfactorily than without it. And this applies particularly to the transmission of electromagnetic waves. The effect of gravitation also are regarded in this an analogous manner. So let's just consider what he's just said. Medium, then he's gone to field, and now he's at magnetic field, and now he's talking about gravitation. And he's comparing them to a magnetic field. Now,
but at no point has he said the words gravity cannot cause an acceleration, has he?
Hang on. We haven't got there yet. It's the next sentence. Forgive me. Let me continue.
Looking forward to it.
The action of the Earth on the stone takes place indirectly, Jeremy. That's not mass attracting mass. That is something else going on.
We aren't arguing for mass attracting mass. Nobody's even mentioned that.
Oh, I heard somebody citing Cavendish experiment before, so you definitely were citing.
All we're concerned about is this saying the word,
sentence.
Gravity cannot cause an acceleration.
So listen, pay attention, because this is it now, Jeremy. Prick your ears up and shut your mouth. Listen to what's being said.
Okay.
The Earth produces in its surroundings a gravitational field, not a mass attracting mass, a gravitational field. I would call that a medium. But you guys have to accept current science, not a force of mass attracting mass.
Is there more to this sentence? I'm waiting.
Yeah, the Earth produces in its surroundings a gravitational field which acts on the stone and produces its motion of fall. You would call that an acceleration. So it is the gravitational field or the medium that is causing the acceleration. That reminds me, let's talk about the egg for a minute, because it was the medium that caused the egg to accelerate.
Oh, hold on, let's
Einstein
stop there. Hold on, before we get to the egg. So what you're saying is that says gravity causes an acceleration.
No, I never said that once. I don't know where you got that fantasy from. I'll repeat my word.
Those were the words that you just said. The
gravitational
field of the
Earth. For those of us that suffer with hard of hearing, for those of us that are suffering with the hard of hearing, Jeremy, in this instance.
Say the end of the sentence again. Go ahead.
I'll say it again. Pin your ears back and close your mouth. It says, the action of the earth on the stone takes place indirectly, Jeremy. Let me paraphrase that so you can understand the context. The action of the acceleration of the egg takes place indirectly. Are you seeing the analogy here?
Not really. Produces... All I'm concerned about, don't care about your fucking stupid egg, dude. Just concerned about
You've got to understand, Jeremy, that Einstein is conflating the gravitational field with the medium in the same way that my egg is caused to accelerate by the medium.
The whole point of this is what the parameter I set out at the start was I want to see the words gravity cannot cause matter to accelerate. What I did not want, and I specifically said this, was something that you were incorrectly interpreting to mean that.
No, Jeremy. It's just your opinion that I'm incorrectly interpreting. It doesn't say what you want it to say, Jeremy. It says very clearly. Jeremy, it says very clearly.
Further in that document, Anthony's not reading.
Go ahead.
Body which are moving under the sole influence of a gravitational field receive an acceleration which does not in the least depend on either the material or the physical state of the body. That says gravity causes acceleration.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that at all. Nowhere did I say that, and I'm reading from the current science.
Anthony, that's in the next paragraph that you're not reading.
I haven't got there yet, and I haven't said that yet.
Well, if you read it, you would know
that doesn't make it not true, Anthony. Things are.
We haven't
it
got
isn't just
there
the
yet,
things you've read out that are true. That isn't how it works, Mom.
Jeremy. We haven't got to listen. If you guys want to suffer with premature ejaculation, which is literally what you're doing now, you're bursting out words without anything to support them because we're not even there yet. You may do so, but you asked me for a citation that says that gravity does not cause acceleration, and I'm giving it to you, but you refuse to listen.
Well, not when the next paragraph fucking denies what you just said.
Don't worry, we'll come to it. But right now, I'm addressing the point that Jeremy claims that doesn't say. The Earth produces in its surroundings a gravitational field. I'd call that a medium, but you can call it a gravitational field. It doesn't matter what we call it, does it? Which acts on the the stone, and produces its motion of fall. We'll call it an acceleration. So it is the gravitational field, which you guys say doesn't matter what we call it, but that is what causes the acceleration. But it is not the force of attraction of gravitation, or the mass attracting mass, or the Cavendish nonsense. It is the field, which we would call a medium. But, Jeremy, let's be really clear. It does not say that gravity causes acceleration. It says the field
Really? How about the
causes
equation later in that document that I just screen captured and posted? Acceleration equals, and then times intensity of the gravitational field.
Yeah. So the acceleration of the egg is equal to the intensity of the medium around it.
No, intensity of the gravitational field.
Yeah, the medium. Einstein is.
No,
this is the point.
Medium has never been associated with a gravitational
field. We're not arguing whether or not the medium or gravitational field causes acceleration.
Anthony,
we're pointing out to Jeremy because Jeremy demanded to know. We're pointing out to Jeremy because Jeremy demanded to know.
Leg off in this case.
We're pointing out to Jeremy because Jeremy demanded to know where it says that gravity doesn't cause acceleration. Now, I've cited
the document it actually said the exact thing to confirm what Jem was saying.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. I've read from it, and it says it's not a force causing acceleration. It says it's the medium.
You didn't read the sentence that I cited in the next paragraph, and you would have never have gotten there because you cherry pick your references.
Let's go to your reference that you want to cite. Where are you reading from?
I'm using yours.
Where you're saying it says it's not gravity, it's the medium. You said the medium. He's calling gravity the medium.
Correct.
Right. So if it's not if it's the medium and the medium is what he's called gravity, then it's gravity, isn't it?
So in that answer, given what you've just said, Jeremy, what is it that causes the egg to accelerate then? It must be the medium, correct?
Well, this passage makes no comment about your stupid egg, dude. Your egg is just an 8-year-old science experiment that demonstrates the principle of buoyancy. Don't be
Jeremy,
a moron.
no. Jeremy,
Yes.
misunderstanding intentionally.
It's an 8-year-old science experiment, dude.
No, Jeremy, no. It's because
you haven't overturned physics with it. Really?
Yes, I have, Jeremy.
No, you haven't.
I have, Jeremy.
Yes, I have.
I have. Yes, I have. Because do you know what, Jeremy? Einstein started off by describing the medium. He then conflated it to a field, then to a gravitational field through a magnetic field. That's how he got to gravitational field. He started off with the word medium, which is exactly what caused the acceleration with the egg. Now, you might deny that because you're a science denier, but it doesn't change the fact that when you asked me to demonstrate where gravity doesn't cause an acceleration, and I did exactly that, it doesn't change the fact that you were incorrect.
You haven't done that.
I have done that. Because gravity...
I asked you, I specifically said, Anthony, I specifically said, I want to see those words, not you interpreting some words to have that meaning. I specifically said that. All you've done is interpret some words that don't mean that to have that meaning. So So you haven't fulfilled what I required at all. And and tell me more though. Tell me more about how you've overturned physics. So I mean, where do you think this is going to lead? Do you think do you expect a Nobel Prize at any point, or I mean, where do you think this will go, Anthony? This overturning.
I'll read it again because you're denying it, Jeremy.
No, I don't care. I don't care. No, I'm never. Look, Anthony, I'm never going to. No, I'm never going to agree with you. I've given you my opinion. Agree with me. I've given you science, Jeremy. No, I've given you science. Look, it's not current science. It's your stupid interpretation. Just you misinterpreting things so that they say what you want them to say. I've given you my opinion of it. Reading it again will not change my opinion. I understood every word. I remember every word. Saying it again will not help. Claiming it's current science won't help either. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's been.
I don't care what's written on the walls of Nathan Oakley's temple. I don't believe any of it. You're a moron.
Jeremy, you're denying it's the medium.
But tell me about you overturning physics and how you've done that, and where you hope what you think that will do for you in the future.
You're denying it's the medium, Jeremy. It's not a force of attraction called gravity.
I didn't deny it's the medium. I agree it's the medium, and the medium's called gravity, according to you.
It's called a medium. It's called salt water. And if you've got an egg in that medium, it's the medium that causes the egg.
I'm not talking about your stupid egg.
Yes, but Jeremy, you asked me to give an explanation or a citation for where it says that gravity is not a force that causes acceleration, and I have, and you just don't like it.
No, I didn't. That isn't what I asked for. I asked you. No,
you asked me
I asked you. No, specifically. No, I asked you for a citation that says gravity cannot cause matter to accelerate. That's what I asked for, and that is not what you provided. You provided the opposite.
That causes the acceleration. It's the medium, Jeremy.
And according to you, and only you, the medium is called gravity. So if the cause is the medium, and the medium is called gravity, then the cause is gravity.
Me, Jeremy. Again, you're misrepresenting me. Not according to me, and only me. According to Albert Einstein.
Okay, all right. If that's how you want, I think you've interpreted that wrongly. I need to spend more time on it. But it's Albert Einstein. It's the same thing. You say it's the medium. The name of the medium is gravity. Therefore, the cause is gravity. There you go.
Yeah, the name of the medium is called the medium. What you're doing now is confusing the verb with the adjective.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
yes,
not.
You are.
They're both nouns, you idiot.
No, verb is a naming word. A verb is a doing word, and an adjective is a describing word.
The medium is a noun, isn't it?
Yeah. So what is causing the acceleration?
Gravity is a noun, isn't it?
Gravity is a noun, yes. But what is the verb?
They're both nouns.
No, what is the verb?
Yes, you've just agreed. Yes,
what is the verb?
Agreed. Yes.
What is the verb? Identify the
verb. What are you talking about? What verb? What are you on about?
Because
if you want a verb, you think of a verb. I don't know any verbs.
No, I know you do. That's a verb. So in the same way that force equals mass times acceleration, you need a force to have an accelerating mass. In the instance of the stone, we need to have the thing that's causing the stone to accelerate, and we know it's the medium. So the noun is the medium, but what's the verb that's making it accelerate, Jeremy?
There isn't. What are you talking about?
The medium.
Verbs don't make things
medium.
accelerate, Anthony. That's not how it works.
No, it's the medium, Jeremy. So what you're doing is you're misidentifying the noun, the verb, and the adjective.
No, I'm not.
Yes, yes you are.
Anthony, there are two words, and both of them are nouns.
No, they're not. One of them's a verb.
No.
One of
which is the word that's a verb? Go and tell me the verb. What's the word that's a verb?
Accelerating is a verb.
No,
but that wasn't one of the words
adjective.
in question.
The verb is the doing thing, isn't it? The word is the action, the thing that's doing word.
We don't have a doing word. We have two words. We have gravity and medium.
Yeah.
Those are the two words we have. Neither of those are a verb. They're both nouns.
Incorrect. This is where you misunderstand.
Okay, so are you saying that gravity is a verb?
Jeremy.
Are you saying gravity is a verb?
You're misunderstanding.
What type of word is gravity?
You're not answering.
What type of word is gravity, Anthony?
You won't let me answer.
No, I will. Just say what type of word gravity is.
Gravity is just a noun.
Right. What type of word is medium?
It is a noun and a verb in this context.
Medium is a verb.
In this context, yes.
Okay.
I'll repeat my words again for you, Jeremy.
So medium is
medium is a verb.
Something is mediuming. Is it? I mean, something is. I mean, how does that work as a verb?
Medium is a noun or an adjective.
What would you say is mediuming in this then?
You keep shouting over me, so I can't get to explain it to you, Jeremy. I'll repeat my words again.
Or an adjective.
Jeremy,
it's not a verb.
I'll repeat the words again. The Earth produces in its surroundings a gravitational field which acts on the stone. So if the gravitational field or the medium is acting on something, the verb would be the medium acting on something. It is doing something.
No. That's not how. That's not how.
Yes.
I'll tell you why you're wrong. Okay.
No, you don't know where I'm wrong. You don't understand what you're talking about. You're a science denier. So how can you correct me when you don't understand
because all I need for this is to be able to speak the English language and know that a verb isn't 3 words, is it?
No, it's a doing word, isn't it?
So the verb is acting.
Correct. Now let's go back to the words, Jeremy. Let's apply that. The verb is acting.
So let's pretend the word that we use to describe an acceleration is acting. That's what you want to do now. That isn't the word. That isn't the word. That isn't the word.
Definition for the word force.
That isn't the word that we use to describe an acceleration. The word that we describe an acceleration and the stuff surrounding it is gravity. And gravity is a noun, as is medium. So if they are both nouns, one is just a name for the other. And so you have admitted that the cause is gravity. Thank you very much.
Have you finished?
Yes.
So when we have the word acting, you've admitted and accepted that that is the verb. You said that the verb is acting. Then we remember what the definition of a force is. And the definition of a force is an interaction on an object, a push or a pull. So that interaction is the acting in this context. Do you agree or disagree?
No, a force is a noun.
Yes, but that's irrelevant to the point.
No, it's fundamental. It's fundamental because without that interaction, without that acting on the stone, there will be no acceleration. You cannot have an acceleration without a force. You cannot have the stone accelerating without something acting on it. In this instance, according to the current science, not your woo-woo science, it is the medium that's causing it. He calls it a gravitational field.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
No, you don't. You call it mass attractive mass. That is not how this is explaining it.
He doesn't say
you are lying again.
He doesn't
you
say
are lying again.
He doesn't say it's the medium. That's something you've added.
I'll quote his words again for Jeremy. He's not listening. The Earth produces in its surroundings a gravitational field. So it is that's acting on the stone.
Does he say the word medium? Does he say the word medium?
He says, in this paragraph, he says the gravitational field.
Does he say the word medium?
He doesn't say mass attracting mass.
Does he say the word medium?
He says gravitational field, Jeremy.
Does he say the word medium?
He starts off with medium, then he goes to field, then he goes to electromagnetic field, and then he ends up at gravitational field. So he's conflating between medium, field, gravitational field. Yes, it's the first paragraph. I've read it to you before. Would you like me to read it again?
Yeah, read it again.
If we pick up a stone and then let it go, why does it fall to the ground? The usual answer to this question is, quote, because it is attracted by the earth. Pay attention, Jeremy. Modern physics formulates the answer rather differently for the following reason. As a result of the more careful study of the electromagnetic phenomena, we have come to regard action at a distance as quote, process impossible without the intervention of some intermediary medium, Jeremy.
Okay.
So he goes from medium, then he goes to magnetic field, and then before you know it, he ends up at gravitational field.
But,
So
but he uses the word field, and you're saying, well, he actually means medium.
He's conflating between the words medium.
No, you are. You're conflating.
Stop.
He uses one word, and you're giving him another word and saying, he actually meant this word. You're conflating.
No, you've not listened to what I was going to say. You've interrupted before I've answered. He starts off with the word medium, then he goes to field, then he goes to electromagnetic field, and before you know it, we're at gravitational field.
Yeah.
So he's conflating between medium field, electromagnetic field, and gravitational field.
No, he's gone through a logical progression using analogies to explain a particular principle. The person conflating here is you, because he uses the word
field. You understand what conflating
is,
Jeremy? Conflation is.
Yes, I'm explaining it to you. I'm explaining your conflation to you right now. When I finish, you will be able to determine if I understand what conflation means. He says the word field. You're saying he says the word medium. He doesn't. He says the word field.
Can I ask a quick question?
Medium. I've read it to you several times. Again, would you like me to read the last sentence again?
How about you?
Because in the relevant part of the sentence, he uses the word field. He doesn't use the word medium. He uses the word field, and I think that's deliberate.
No, again, Jeremy, you don't understand what conflation is. He starts off saying, we have come to regard action at a distance as process impossible without the intervention of some intermediary medium, right? Then he goes to field, then he goes to electromagnetic field, and before the end of the paragraph, we end up with gravitational field. But my point is... I
gotta go back to work.
No, hang on. My point is that you asked me for a citation for where Einstein says that gravity doesn't cause acceleration, and here is it. He says it's the medium or the gravitational field, but not a force itself.
He says what you're saying is a paragraph that you say. He says the field, which is called gravity, is the reason the thing moves. But this is a passage that says gravity isn't the cause of things moving. That's your retarded, ridiculous.
By the way, it says
distortion of the truth.
Sorry, Jim.
Again, all I've done, Jeremy.
You're incapable of understanding the English language.
Where Einstein says that gravity doesn't cause acceleration, and I've given you where he says it's the medium. Now, whether you call it a medium or gravitational field is irrelevant.
He doesn't say it's the medium, though. He doesn't say it's the medium at any point. At no point does he say it's the medium.
Hey, Jim, let me ask a question before I got to go to work here.
Go ahead.
Is he related to Amber Heard? I'm just curious. Kind of sounds like it. Reminds me of the where she didn't donate. She didn't donate.
Just to answer your question specifically, you asked me for citation for where gravity doesn't cause acceleration. I then give you one that says it's the medium or the gravitational field. Yes, I have. And you just deny it.
A field called gravity.
No, a field called a field, medium, gravitational field, electromagnetic field. He conflates between the four.
In this case, he's talking about a field called gravity. You already agreed this earlier on.
A field called gravitational field, which he conflates with the medium.
Right. And which we generally...
So can we now accept that when you asked me for citation... When you asked me for citation for where Einstein says...
No, it says the opposite. I still say it says the opposite.
It's the medium that causes acceleration and not gravity.
He doesn't say the medium. You've added that.
No, he does say the medium, Jeremy.
No, he says the field. He says the field. You added medium. You changed it to medium.
I didn't add medium. I read...
Right, okay, does it say... No, he does not say that in relation to gravity.
It doesn't say that, Riley. It says medium once on that page, and it says without the intervention of some intermediary medium. One time is the word
and that's
medium
what
on
I've
that
said.
page.
I started off with that and said that it moves from medium to magnetic field, and then from magnetic field to gravitational field. I said he conflates.
Not gravitational medium, gravitational field. Field, field. Not medium. Field.
So then,
not
Jeremy,
medium,
we need to go back to the first
field.
sentence.
No, we don't.
need to
We
go
can
back.
just go with that sentence. Field.
So
we
as
don't
a
need
result
another
of the more-
sentence. We don't need
Jeremy?
some other sentence that you really like from somewhere else. We just need that sentence.
No. Listen,
Yes,
pay
yes,
attention,
yes.
Jeremy. This debunks you. It says
No, it
as
doesn't.
the result of the more.
No, it doesn't.
Listen,
it says it
does.
debunks you. It says
No,
the
it doesn't.
opposite of what you
No,
say.
you're a science denier, Jeremy. It clearly says
you're
as a result of the more careful study
You're
of
an economically
electromagnetic phenomena, we have come to regard action at a distance as
who did an
processing
8-year-old
possible
science
without the
experiment
intervention of
and
an
thinks he
intermediary
overturned
medium.
all of
It
physics.
doesn't say an
You're
intermediary
delusional,
field
dude.
or an intermediary
Delusional.
gravitational field, does he? He says medium.
I would like to point out that in a paragraph later, it says bodies which are moving under the sole influence of a gravitational field receive an acceleration.
Yeah.
So
the gravitational
acceleration
field
is caused by gravity.
No. So it doesn't cause. No, not caused by gravity. We've just clearly been through how it. Listen, I'll read the words again for those of you that don't
I'll read the words
accept
for
it.
you. Bodies
No,
which
no.
are moving under the sole influence of a gravitational field receive an acceleration.
As a result of the more careful study of the electromagnetic phenomena, we have come to regard action at a distance as processing.
Riley,
This egg you're talking about, is it a medium-sized egg by any chance? Is it a small one?
This is stupid. This
gravity causes a gravitational
Current
field.
position in
which causes
science, gentlemen, that you're denying.
This is an absolutely meaningless hour of word salad.
Absolutely meaningless. This is the current position in science that clearly says gravity does not cause acceleration. It is the medium that does.
It's your cloudy,
Just because you
stupid
people
head
deny this
not
science
working out
doesn't
what's
mean
going
that you
on.
can dismiss it.
You're as thick as pig shit.
No, just because you people deny this science doesn't mean you can dismiss it.
Riley, what
More
about the
lies.
paragraph I read?
I've responded to the paragraph you read. Perhaps you didn't hear me because I was being overtalked. I responded by
You did
saying,
not respond to it. You
I
ignored
did
it.
respond. Perhaps you didn't hear me because I was being overspoke. I will repeat my words. Quote from Einstein's thing. As a result of the more careful study of electromagnetic phenomena, we have come to regard action at a distance as processing possible without the intervention of an intermediary medium. He does not say as a gravitational field. He says medium.
He does too. Read
You
what I
liar!
wrote.
You liar! He does say
No.
a gravitational field. He says the word
intermediary
gravitational
I need to
field.
post it again, Riley.
And you know damn well he does.
Yeah, but listen, it needs to have an intermediary medium. It needs to have an intermediary.
He does say the words gravitational field, doesn't he?
Yes, but what you need to understand is the pretext to that, Jeremy, which you're denying.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yes, you do, because you can't have a gravitational field unless you admit and accept that
this is-
gravitational field
but this-
is a medium, Jeremy.
This is just a way for you to insert the word medium into it, where he
listen,
didn't.
Jeremy, I am
he
responding
didn't-
to your-
He didn't feel that I've muted you. He didn't feel the need to use the word medium. You've just pushed it in there. But nevertheless, regardless, this passage still says the reverse of what you claim it says, as do other sentences within this document. So if you want to understand it like that, Anthony, you can, but it should bother you that nobody else understands it that way. Nobody else is interpreting it that way. No one in this room, and there's some very, very clever people in here, much cleverer than you, I can promise you that. Plus, nobody in reality interprets it that way. It's just you. Go ahead.
I don't deny what he says about the gravitational medium, the gravitational field. But you are denying the necessary antecedent that requires a intermediary medium. And what you are then doing is contrasting the noun with the other noun, but they are conflation. They are not distinguishing, they are conflating. So he starts with medium, and then you say from that, because the Earth produces its own gravitational field, that gravitational field is still a medium. All he's doing is conflating the word gravitational field with electromagnetic field, field, and medium. That's the context.
Incorrect.
Now you
By
know.
the way, antecedents are by definition necessary. The word necessary is redundant. You don't need.
Yes, but we need a medium for there to be a gravitational field.
Necessary antecedent. You just need to say antecedent.
We need a medium for there to be a gravitational field.
I just needed to correct you on that because it's a mistake that you guys have been making for a long time.
So majoring on a minor is a fallacy. Don't major on the minor. Who cares? Let's address the claim. So your original claim was you wanted me to cite something where it says gravity does not cause acceleration. Yeah. So when I do that,
how many times are we going to go round in this circle? I've told you what I think about this. You saying it again is not going to change my mind. Nobody here agrees with you. I think you're wrong. Everyone else thinks you're wrong. You're wrong, dude.
Nice.
Even Newton thinks you're wrong.
You need to say that again because you were muted while I was talking.
Oh, well, see, you're doing now exactly what you criticised Nathan for. You're fundy muting.
No, I'm just trying to get my sentence out without you interrupting me, and you are doing it a lot.
I'm correcting, not interrupting.
Well, your correction involves interrupting, doesn't it?
Yes, because I don't want you to keep continuously rambling on with your false
statements. Stop trying to get off on a one-word technicality, Anthony. All arguments with you always boil down.
Why is it okay for you to interrupt me, but I can't respond back?
Always boil down to one word, don't they? It always boils down to the meaning of a single word. And from that meaning, all of reality is derived.
Jeremy, why is it okay for you to interrupt me and mute me, but I can't interrupt you?
Because I own the place, and I'm
fair enough. At least given that I'm the minority view here, and given that I'm your guest, it is more respectful if you want to engage in actual conversation that you allow me to fucking speak.
I am doing. You are doing now. You've had plenty of time to speak. Come on.
I guess I don't.
So when you asked me for citation saying gravity doesn't cause acceleration, I then do that.
Move on, dude.
Can you at least accept and acknowledge that I've provided citation, even if you disagree?
Don't you understand, Anthony? No. I do not accept it. I think it says the opposite of what you say it says. I am not changing my mind on this. There will be no concession on this. This is my opinion. It will not change. If you read it again, it won't change. If you read it 10 times, my opinion will not change. My opinion is shared by a whole room of people who agree with me. I do not accept you have provided what I asked you for. I have said this over and over and over again. You're just going to have to move on, Anthony. Please.
Take a breath and let me move on. So when earlier on in the conversation...
Could you read paragraph 3?
Not yet. So earlier in the conversation, when you were asking me to give an explanation for how we carve the gradient inside a container, and I said I refuse to because you people dismiss and deny everything that I say, and then we go through a scenario based on the definition of the word gravity, and you dismiss and deny what's being presented to you, then we have the explanation for why I don't explain stuff to you people.
What, because you're wrong a lot? Good explanation. You should do that. What you're saying is, if I say some bullshit, if I say something
to you when it is the current position in science, Jeremy,
if I say some bullshit and you argue with it, then that proves I'm right.
Is it, Jeremy? Just give me a one-word answer. In the paragraphs that we've just been talking about.
The answer's no.
No, it's not. It's not a yes/no answer. In the paragraphs you've just been talking about, is it the medium that causes acceleration, and whether you conflate medium with
Anthony, I am not going to change my mind. No amount of you engineering or manipulating the way that you say the words is going to change that. No amount of... I've been through this. Please,
it doesn't matter, Jeremy.
Move on. Move to something else.
I want to ask
Talk about a different subject. This is the same subject. You went straight back to talking about exactly the same words in exactly the same paragraph. I disagree with you. I have told you this repeatedly. I'm not the only one who disagrees with you. My position is not unreasonable. I do not agree with you, Anthony. I am not going to agree with you. Please move on to a different subject. Surely there has to be something other than... Well, actually, there isn't, is there? All you can do is walk around the internet saying, gravity's not a force. That's all you've done, actually, for about the last 4 years, isn't it?
Jeremy... I'm going to ask my question anyway, and if you choose not to answer, that's up to you. but I'm going to ask it anyway. My question is this. Whether you call it the medium, the electromagnetic field, or the gravitational field, whether you call it any of those nouns, do you accept that Einstein's current position in the theory of general relativity states that it is the medium or the gravitational field that acts on the stone and it is not a force of attraction?
No, I do not accept that.
Then you are. Well, there you go. So your own audience sees that you deny the current position in science. Whether you agree or disagree is irrelevant.
Well,
no, we don't.
The thing, when you say the words current position in science, you mean my twisted interpretation of some paragraph I found somewhere and some other half a sentence I got from somewhere else. That's what you mean. You don't mean the current position in science.
That's not what I mean. That's what you're telling people. That's what you're telling your audience that you want me to say that I believe or that I mean.
People
but that
can
is not
hear you
what I
doing
mean.
it. They heard you do it, Anthony. So
That is it's not, Jeremy. It's not my. It's not my interpretation, Jeremy.
And like I say, as usual.
Hey, Jeremy, did you catch Nathan's show today? It was saying that you're not allowed to discern.
I never ever watch Nathan's show. Well, actually, occasionally I do, but very, very rarely.
It's a
what was he saying? Go ahead. Let's hear this.
I'm going to read to you an extract from an American newspaper. Bear with me; it's on here. It is from PBS News.
As well?
PBS News. California politicians, inspired by a recent UC Berkeley white paper, are mulling over new proposals that would make, and pay attention, that would make the denial of science an infringement of religious freedom. Rejection of basic tenets such as evolution and the Big Bang could in specific circumstances be classified as a form of prejudice, intolerance, or abuse. I put it to you, Jeremy, that one of the basic tenets of your ideology is that gravity is a force, and you're rejecting the current science that says that it's not a force for some woo-woo instead, that it's been superseded, and that is literally the rejection of basic tenets that this PBS News article is claiming could be, in certain circumstances, classified as a form of prejudice, intolerance, or abuse, and you're guilty of it.
I think that you're trying to play a silly word game, and it's your usual. You think you're some sort of internet lawyer that is going to get off on a technicality, again, based on the understanding of a single word. Or in your case, usually the misunderstanding of a single word.
What does
current in America?
Nonsense.
We're not in America, first of all.
See,
second
this
of
is
all,
why we don't engage
you should
with
watch
you.
out flat earthers because that's exactly what you're doing. So this applies to you, flat earthers.
But I would add as well that in the UK, of course, teaching young Earth creationism or creationism is illegal in a school. You can't do that. Not as part of science education, anyway.
Yeah, of course you can.
Science
you can't. Not in the UK, you can't.
Yeah, you can. Would you like citation for that, or will you dismiss me if I present citation that proves?
Not as part of science education. You can as part
of
religious
education. Yes, you can.
No, you
yes,
can't.
you can. Yes, you can. If I give you the proof that proves that you can, would you accept it, or would you dismiss that as well?
Well, it depends what the proof is, you fucking idiot. Well,
it's in the national curriculum.
The proof could be Nathan said it on the show.
It's in the national curriculum.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
If I show you in the national curriculum, would you accept it, Jeremy? Yes or no?
Right. Let's be clear what we're saying here. That the national curriculum, and we're talking about the science curriculum, not religious education curriculum, and we're talking that it teaches the principles of young Earth creationism, not it teaches this is what people used to believe and we don't believe it anymore, something like that.
Correct.
Or are
let's see it. Let's see where this is in the national curriculum.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll find it.
Or the same as.
This would be amazing if it's true.
It's definitely true.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll deafen myself while I find it, and I'll come straight back to you.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
This
will be his misunderstanding of a single word again. I'll bet you.
Does anybody have a copy of Riley's thesis? I used to have it, but I misplaced it.
Having fun, fellas.
Yes, thanks. Loads of flat earthers have been in amusing us all day. It's been brilliant.
Is everyone getting their fair share of flat earth pie?
I want to know what causes
Pretty
these
much.
gravitational fields and if it's dependent on anything.
I don't know what kind of boat you're serving, but
Hello,
no one's been able to tell me. No one's been able to tell me what the ingredients are in flat Earth pie, so I've said no. They said we don't have to provide you with the ingredients for flat Earth pie, so I'm sticking with my globe pie right here.
Oh, you can make it up as you go along. It's, you know, it can be delicious or dreadful. It all depends what you put in it.
Panda.
Jeremy.
Right there is a national curriculum for the UK. It
Jeremy?
only says the word religious twice in that entire document.
Jeremy,
So yeah, I'm here. Where am I looking?
Okay, so on that link that I've sent to you in the private messages, under the two documents, it's got a heading that says details. Would you read the first paragraph after the word details, please?
Hang on. Hang on. Which document? Sorry.
In the link, you'll find the two documents at the top under the heading of documents. Go below that, and it describes the details in a subparagraph called details.
Okay, this is the statutory national curriculum framework. It is issued by law. You must follow it unless there is a good reason not to. The framework includes the programs of study for all subjects for key stages 1 to 4.
Okay, so let's focus.
Is there a relevant bit of this?
Let's focus on the second sentence. It is issued by law. You must follow it unless there is a good reason not to.
Right.
So, young Earth creationism. Given that the first law of thermodynamics says that matter cannot be created nor destroyed, we have creation that comes from what you say is a cosmic explosion called the Big Bang. But there are alternative explanations for that said event. So because there are alternative explanations, they are good reasons not to follow this. So you can talk about new Earth creationism in the context of science.
So your way of showing me how young Earth creationism is in the national curriculum is a way of showing me how it's not in the national curriculum.
No, how it violates the first law of thermodynamics.
How you don't have to follow the rules of the national curriculum because of your interpretation of a couple of words at the start here.
So your claim was that you cannot teach new Earth creationism in the UK.
That's the
so
longest
now I've
thread I've
cited to
ever
you in the
heard.
same way that I cited Einstein's theory of general relativity. I've now cited to you the details described in the national curriculum that clearly state that it is issued by law and you must follow it unless there is a good reason not to. And when the Big Bang explodes into creation, or not creation, but whatever word you use to describe that increase of energy.
So hold on, stop. Even if what you are saying is true, what you're saying is that you said it was in the national curriculum. You're saying now it can be taught if there's a good reason not to follow the national curriculum, right?
No. Again,
that's what this says. It says the national curriculum. It is issued by law. You must follow it. You must follow it. The national curriculum is the thing you must follow unless there is a good reason not to. So if there is a good reason not to follow it, you're saying a good reason not to follow it is Big Bang, whatever bullshit you've come up with. So therefore, if you don't follow the national curriculum, you can then teach young Earth creationism.
Because the Big Bang theory essentially is, I'm going to say this very loosely, so don't make a big deal out of it.
But we don't need. Look, this doesn't say the Big Bang. Let's just deal with the words that are here. What you're saying is that in the circumstance where you have a good reason not to follow the national curriculum, in that circumstance of having that reason not to follow it, then you can teach young Earth creationism. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. Let me just say, let me answer, let me address you so that you can at least your audience can hear me, even if you disagree.
Can you do it with the words that are here, not add a load of start talking about the Big Bang, because that's not in here.
I can.
Let's focus on the link so all of us could look at it.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
sorry guys, sorry.
I'll
post it now. Hang on, sorry, I do apologise. Sorry.
I feel like
go
this
ahead.
would be an argument in court to commit murder if it doesn't reject murder in the law.
Right, but what I wanted to see was where in the national curriculum it has teaching of young Earth creationism, and of course it doesn't. What you're saying is if you don't follow it, then you can do it, but you can't.
Let's follow what the words say closely. Jeremy, let me answer. Let me address you.
Creationism being taught as science was outlawed in English state schools. I can't remember what year it was.
Can I answer you or not? Is it a what's the word? A church in here? You can only. I'm trying to address your lies.
Go on.
Right. So because it says it is issued by law, you must follow it. That would be things like not New Earth creation, because you say that they're illegal, right? So it would not be. So it would be things like evolution. Yeah.
Right.
You've got to follow this thing of evolution or Big Bang or whatever it is in science that describes how Earth came into existence.
Right.
You have to follow this document.
Yes.
And then Yes, but it continues, Jeremy. It says, unless there is a good reason not to. Now, when there is a big explosion that causes intelligent design to increase, entropy.
Yes, Anthony, I get your argument. You say there is a good reason
That
not
violates
to
the
follow
first law of thermodynamics, Jeremy, because you can't get a
Yes, I
reduction
get it. I get it. You say there is a
you
good
can
reason.
teach New Earth creationism because that is a good reason not to teach the Big Bang.
What?
Says who? Says who's that's a good reason.
But that again, that relies on your twisted interpretation. But what you're saying is that's a reason for you not to follow the national curriculum, right?
Not just a reason, Jeremy, a good reason. It's not just any old reason, it's a good reason.
All right, if you say it, well, you think it is. I mean, nobody agrees with you on that. Let's be right about that. But you say it's a good reason. But you say it's a good reason not to follow the national curriculum. So that doesn't mean young Earth creationism is part of the national curriculum, which is what you said. That's ridiculous.
No, I didn't say.
It's outlawed. It is outlawed
100%.
to teach in the national curriculum as
Jeremy,
science.
Your words were that you can't teach New Earth creationism in school in the UK.
You can't.
And I brought to you
not in a state school. I should have said state school. There are some
state school,
religious schools, but
I've got the national curriculum for you and your audience, and they can all see that it says it is issued by law and you must follow it unless there is a good reason not to. The argument for New Earth creationism is that the Earth cannot result from an explosion where everything explodes into existence, causing intelligent design. That is the good reason.
But Anthony, this is your twisted interpretation that you've invented.
You're just denying what it says, Jeremy. You're denying that it says if there's a good reason
I'm
not
not denying what it says. Look,
yes, you are. Because you're
Anthony,
saying
this is your twisted interpretation. But where your twisted interpretation, even if we accept its lunacy, where it takes you is to a place where you are not following the national curriculum. That's where it gets you. And you're saying, I have a good reason not to follow the national curriculum. And if I do that, then I can teach creationism. So that's the opposite of creationism being part of the national curriculum. As you said, it's not part of the national curriculum. It's outlawed for it to be part of the national curriculum, outlawed for it to be taught in UK state schools, and the only way it can be taught is in religious schools, and presumably with your twisted, mad, weird interpretation and insistence on some beliefs about the Big Bang and science and all this crap, all Nathan Oakley's temple stuff that all has to be true for your twisted interpretation to have any validity anyway. But as I say, the only place it takes you is not the national curriculum. It does not take you to the national curriculum, which is where you needed to be. You were wrong.
What's actually happening is that when you asked me for 2 pieces of documentation that supports my position and I then present them, because you disagree with them, you then make some ludicrous claim that I am in some way delusional or whatever, yet I am supporting my evidence, my citations or my positions with supporting evidence. And in the first instance, I showed you it was not gravity that is an acceleration, it's the medium, and you denied it. Now in the second instance, I'm showing you that the national curriculum does allow you to talk about New Earth creationism.
You actually said it was part of it, not allow. Everyone heard you say it was part of the curriculum.
No, I didn't say that. I disputed
Jeremy
saying that
it was part of the national curriculum. Were your words?
Didn't. I said that you are allowed to teach New Earth creation to go against what you said that it was not. It was outlawed, and you could not.
You are not allowed to teach New Earth creationism by definition of the fact that you have to not go against, or you have to go against the national curriculum in order to teach it.
But I've just explained how you can. Because the explosion, the Big Bang, because the Big Bang explosion is... because the Big Bang explosion is essentially, I'll use the phrase order from chaos. Don't shoot me on that.
Relevant what your justification is for not.
No. It isn't irrelevant. It isn't irrelevant. It is essential because it says
what your justification is. As long as
no, it
you
is very
justify
relevant.
it
You're
and you
denying
don't
what it
follow
says in the
the
national curriculum, sir.
you can teach it. That's all you're saying, but that wasn't your premise. Your premise
You
was that the
anti-flat earthers are
national
denying the evidence
allows
that
you to
says
teach
to the contrary. It clearly says that you must follow the national curriculum unless there is a good reason not to. So it doesn't say that you cannot do anything else outside of the national curriculum. You have the freedom to do what you want within the national curriculum or outside of it if there's a good reason to do so. And when someone points out that the explosion creates intelligent design, and that seems to be a bit of an issue, that would then justify explaining, maybe there is something that's causing all this to create new Earth creation. You could do that with a good reason, and the good reason would be it violates the first law of thermodynamics, because energy and matter can neither be created nor destroyed, yet we somehow end up in a position where we have an increase of intelligence, not a decrease, which entropy always dictates.
You're forgetting your words. He asked you to clarify whether or not it's part of the curriculum, and you agreed that it was
my
part
words
of
at
the
all.
curriculum.
I am reminding you of my words that are in direct refutation for Jeremy's words when he said that it is not allowed to teach New Earth creationism in the national curriculum, and I've shown that it is, because it is a good reason not to teach, not to just isolate it to the Big Bang Theory, because, let's be honest, if you were God and you wanted to create an Earth, you could just poof it into existence, and that poof could be interpreted to be the Big Bang, could it not?
Bro, we all heard you say it was part of the curriculum. Like, you don't have to deny it. We all heard you say it. Like,
Now
3
you're
times.
lying as well. I didn't say it was part of the curriculum. I said it is expressly in the curriculum. And it is, because I've given the citation that supports it. It says, and again, let's focus on the words. It is issued by law. You must follow it unless there is a good reason not to. That would include New Earth creationism.
What's the difference between something being part of something and something being in something?
Anthony, what you're saying is, and I'm going to draw a parallel here.
The difference is the restriction on not teaching it as per Jeremy, and the inclusion of it by expression in the actual document by the national curriculum itself. That is the difference.
Anthony, I got a question for you. You're going to a baseball game. They say no firearms are permitted unless you're a police officer. Now you go to the baseball game. You're not a police officer. You bring a firearm. Are you going to be watching the game in the stadium, or are you not?
Good point.
So let's paraphrase that. In the national curriculum, if you're going to teach that the only evolution in the Big Bang is going to be acceptable, does it mean that you cannot teach anything else beyond that? Or if there's a good reason to do so, does it mean that you're permitted to?
Yes, exactly. If you go to the baseball game and you bring a weapon, but you're not a police officer, did you bring a weapon? You did. Are you going to be watching the baseball game? No, you're not.
So let's paraphrase. You go to the classroom and you teach all the children about New Earth creation, and Gem Panda jumps up and says, whoa, it is expressly permitted, excluded that you do not teach it. And then the teacher says, but hang on, it says if there's a good reason not to. You then say, well, what's your good reason? And then you say, well, it violates the first. So
Anthony,
at that point,
your misunderstanding of the Big Bang does not justify a good reason not to teach it.
I haven't finished.
You don't understand the Big Bang. It's clear by what you've said that you don't understand what the Big Bang Theory entails, because it doesn't say anything about the start of the existence of the matter. It just talks about what happens after the matter came into existence, however that happened. So you can't conflate the two things, because the Big Bang never says anything about where the energy in the Big Bang came from. It doesn't.
I think you can. You can conflate the two things. I think you can find that.
The point is not whether or not Big Bang is whatever. It's not about the subject matter. It is about whether the subject matter in question can be taught or not. And Jeremy says that you cannot teach New Earth creationism because he says it's illegal. Yet I've given him the national curriculum that expressly states that it's not, unless it's a good you must
haven't
follow
provided a good reason.
Unless there is a good reason not to.
You have not provided a good reason, Anthony.
Yeah, and who
it's a violation of the first law of thermodynamics. It's a violation of the first law of thermodynamics.
You don't understand fucking thermodynamics, so don't quote the first law at me. You're not even quoting it right. The first law is about energy, not matter.
So again, this is about an argument about the merits of the thing. I accept that you think that I don't understand it. That isn't the point.
Because the words that are coming out of your mouth show me that you don't understand it. I've been studying mechanical engineering for the past fucking 4 years, and I know for a fact that you don't fucking understand what the fuck you're talking about, Riley.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter whether you think that or not. And I'll give you that I don't understand it. The point is that it is not prohibited for teaching the new earth creation because it is a good reason to question how things got better as a result of an explosion. Now, whether you agree or disagree about that point is irrelevant. The point is it is not prohibited.
What you're saying is if somebody comes up with a good reason, i.e. a scientist in science, then they could teach it, which I think everyone would agree with. But that hasn't happened.
It doesn't say a good reason as a scientist must say this. It just says a good reason not to, and a good reason would be it's a violation of the first law of thermodynamics, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. The fact that you disagree shows that there's an argument there. But if you don't accept it, I don't care. But I just wanted to refute Jeremy's claim. I just wanted to refute Jeremy's claim that it is illegal to teach New Earth creation in the national curriculum in the UK because it is not.
Nobody agrees it's a good reason, so your point falls.
Michael Gove, right? He's the head of education or something like that. He said, here in the UK, we are fortunate that there is a strong political consensus against the teaching of creationism in schools as a scientifically valid theory. Michael Gove has said that he is crystal clear that creationism is not science and therefore will not be taught as such in schools.
Okay. And what role is Michael Gove in this context?
Google him.
He is just a politician. Is he an academic? No. Is he a teacher? No. Is he anybody that understands anything to do with this topic in the topic in question? No. He's a politician. So his opinion is literally irrelevant.
Maybe in your minds.
Yeah, well, if Michael Gove's is irrelevant and mine's irrelevant, what makes you think that yours is somehow relevant?
We have backing for ours, Tony.
You have no backing. There is no science for the Big Bang. It's just a theory.
That is science.
Just a theory. God, I love it.
Science makes theories. That's what science is, right? You know that.
Science doesn't make theories. Science establishes the cause of an effect through empirical research and experiment.
So no theories are part of science, according to you?
Depends on what you mean when you say theory. Are you using the word theory in the scientific definition or are you using it in the colloquial definition?
Yeah, in the scientific definition. Are scientific theories part of science?
Yeah, scientific theory is full of established experiment. There are numerous experiments that support a scientific theory. I suspect that you're using it in the colloquial sense, that it's just merely a theory and you're trying to flip me off with that definition, and that's the incorrect one.
You're talking about the theory of the Big Bang or anything else, which is a scientific theory.
No, it's not a scientific theory.
Yes,
it's just a theory in the colloquial sense.
It is a scientific theory, Anthony.
There is no evidence to prove, no, that's nonsense. There is no science
evidence
Big Bang.
that supports the Big Bang.
Oh, aren't they?
There's no scientific evidence for a Big Bang. It is just speculative. They call it theoretical physics for a reason.
The Big Bang isn't theoretical physics, Anthony.
It is not a
based off
scientific
of
theory.
our observations of what is occurring in the universe.
Yeah, observations are not science. That's not a scientific theory, even if you say it is.
Holy shit.
I mean, I
It's a
just
definition
Googled
of
it.
science,
It says
sir.
the Big Bang is a scientific theory about the prevailing cosmological blah, 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 blah. It's a science. That's just what it is. Do you disagree with everything?
Let's move the point on. Let's say that I concede. Does it mean that it is expressly excluded that you talk about other causes for how we came into existence? Yes or no?
Who's excluding?
Yes, it is expressly in English schools. It's expressly excluded. Yes.
Again, I'll read what it says. It is issued by law, and you must follow it unless there is a good reason not to. So if there is a good reason not to, and you can justify that any way you wish and disagree with me if you wish, but if there is a good reason not to, then it permits you talking about the alternatives.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Who has determined
Creationism is not an alternative.
But
to
hold
Big
on.
Bang.
But who has determined that the reasons that you are providing are good reasons?
Exactly.
You've determined that, haven't you?
No,
Anthony,
Science hasn't made any comment on your reasons, has it?
Science doesn't have lips, does it?
No, right. So
science can't make comments.
So the only person that has determined that your reasons are good reasons is you, isn't it?
No.
Oh,
You
who else
guys-
has determined that your reasons would be good reasons in this educational context? Who else has determined that?
You can apply the principles. You can apply the principles of logic to establish whether or not something has a good foundation or not.
You're just saying, you're just going to speak for everyone else and just say, well, they would agree with me because I'm being really logical.
No, I'm not speaking for anybody
right,
or
so-
everybody. I am saying that you can apply principles of logic to establish whether or not a house can build itself given enough time, or do you need a builder?
What's that got to do with the price of cheese? We're not talking about whether a house can build itself. We're talking
It has nothing
about,
to do with the price.
you are saying that because of what is written here, this says that you can teach young earth creationism in an English school. And your determination of that has come from your claim that what you think about the Big Bang, etc., would be a good reason to not follow the national curriculum. But how do you know that would be considered a good reason to not follow the national curriculum? You don't know that. You've just decided that they're good reasons because you like them. Does anyone agree with you? Anyone of any significance agree with you on this?
I did not say not follow the national curriculum. I said
that's what that thing says, dude.
I didn't say exclude. I didn't say not follow the curriculum. I said you can teach it. And I've given you the justification for how. Whether you agree or disagree with me on the merits of any particular claim on a subject is irrelevant. The point is that you can teach it, contrary to your claim that you cannot.
Yeah, but in order to teach it, even if I accept what you've said is true, which it isn't in any way, it's just nonsense. But even if I accept that to be true, to teach it, you have to be not following the national curriculum, don't you?
Incorrect.
How?
You misunderstand the words.
No, I don't. How is it then within the national curriculum? How is that?
You're not this is why I said let's pay particular attention to the words, Jeremy.
Right, let's do that.
It is issued by law and you must follow it.
Right, hang on, stop. What is it?
The national curriculum.
Okay, great.
Right.
So let's replace it. Hang on. Every time we see the word it, let's replace it with the word national curriculum. Okay. Yeah. So the national curriculum is issued by law. You must follow the national curriculum unless there is a good reason not to follow the national curriculum. I've added that bit in there, right?
There you go. So unless there is a good reason not to.
Right.
Follow the national curriculum.
Right. So there are countless reasons why the Big Bang Theory is not credible. Now, whether we go into the merits of the arguments is irrelevant.
Okay, I get it. So let's pretend for some delusional moment that the blabber that you're coming out with amounts to a good reason. The court of Anthony Riley has decided it, and it is so. So you have a good reason to do what?
To depart from the national curriculum and teach alternatives.
Depart from the national curriculum. So if you
that doesn't mean exclude. That doesn't mean exclude. That doesn't mean exclude. What that means is the national curriculum says that we evolved from a Big Bang. But the alternative explanation is that God did it. I'm simplifying for the sake of illustration. But my point is, I'm not saying exclude the national curriculum. I'm saying give a bipartisan view and say some people say that the Big Bang Theory is not credible, and here's who them people are, and here's their justification for it, and that will be entirely permitted within the national curriculum.
What do you think happens when you depart a train station? Are you still at the train station?
Yeah, until you convince the Secretary of State.
Let's analogize. Let's apply that to your train station analogy. You start off at train station 1 and then you go to train station 2. And in the national curriculum, it stops at train station 2. But by extension, you can say, well, there's another train station that you can go to, and there's a third one that you can go to. And you're still going to get to the same destination because we've got to go through the second train station. But there's a few more stops that you can go to. It doesn't stop at just that first station. That's the correct analogy.
That wasn't an extension. That was a completely different analogy that happened to also use trains. However, if
the analogy.
train station number
That's why I
3 is
corrected
only
it.
existing in your imagination,
Nobody is
that's
saying.
not valid.
Can I just read this as
that
well?
we should exclude the national curriculum. What I'm saying is you are allowed to teach it by extension because it is expressly said that if it's just got a good reason to do so, you can do so.
No,
so
except
it is
it's
not
expressly excluded. Except it's expressly said that you can't teach it. The government
No,
has
it doesn't.
changed.
It says that you can.
Listen. The government has changed the rules to preclude all academies and free schools, both those that already exist and those that will open in the future, from teaching pseudoscientific ideas such as creationism as scientifically valid. The changes have been made through extending an explicit ban to all future academies and free schools, but also by clarifying that it believes the requirement to teach a broad and balanced curriculum means no existing academies and free schools can teach pseudoscience either.
So here we have the distinction between pseudoscience and science. And then we have to start talking about what science is there for Big Bang or evolution or anything else that's contentious. And when we start talking about science, again, we have a defined term, meaning for the word science, and it involves experiments. It doesn't involve just observation.
No, we don't.
In
this case, we don't, Anthony. It doesn't. In this case, we don't, Anthony, because they specifically use the word creationism. They give an example of a pseudoscientific idea, and the example that they give is creationism. And it is banned.
What is your citation from?
It is banned. What? My citation is from Humanists UK. This is from June the 18th, 2014. So I guess that was probably not long after the legislation was passed.
The Department of Education have made it clear to me personally in emails that the teachers are free to teach more diverse topics than just within the national curriculum. And they expressly include things like, I don't know, from a religious perspective, like Hindus, Muslims, whatever religious perceptions that other.
I said that. I specifically said that at the start. You can teach it as part of religious education, but you cannot teach it as part of science education.
And then it went further.
Specifically made that distinction. So you don't get to waffle it in there now. What is taught in religion? We're only talking about what is taught in science classes. Only that.
Yes, but it went further. It contrasted the difference between science against pseudoscience. And you said creationism, according to that article, is pseudoscience. Yes. Well, where's the science for Big Bang?
If you want to have an argument, with the government about it, away you go. I don't need to do that.
That is the whole point, Jeremy, isn't it?
I don't need to establish the logic of their lawmaking. What I need to establish,
they're not lawmakers.
Shut up. What I need to establish, I'll shut you up. What I need to establish only for my argument is the position in the UK on teaching creationism. It is banned. It is not allowed. It is specifically named as not being allowed, Anthony. Not under any circumstances, except as part of religious education.
You're wrong. It says pseudoscience, and then it names creationism as pseudoscience.
Yes.
So by implication, it implies for it. By implication, of course there is, but that's irrelevant. By implication, it means that it's classing.
That's what the basis of pseudoscience is. Evidence
as scientific.
It's doing what?
As the Big Bang Theory is scientific.
Hang on. There's another twisted understanding coming. Say that again, Anthony. What does it mean?
Because it expressly states that creationism is pseudoscience, it implies that not creation, evolution, or Big Bang would be considered to be scientific.
Oh my God!
There is
definitions don't matter in law. It's what's actually written.
Big Bang is not a creation.
Anthony, we don't have to justify the Big Bang. The bottom line is creationism is pseudoscience. It's been declared as such, and that's the end of it. That's the end of creationism. Now, whatever other theories there are out there are irrelevant. The bottom line is creationism is not science.
According to the documentation that Jeremy's read, which is not a credible citation.
Okay.
Although I think creation is true, I have to agree with Bob because you can't use a scientific method and a hypothesis and test to check the creationism is true.
Exactly. And you can't do that with Big Bang Theory either. So that would also mean that Big Bang Theory is equally as pseudoscience as what creation is by your own standards that you just applied.
So national curriculum.
That's not true, Anthony. Obviously,
it is true. It is
We're
true.
talking
You
about
can
the
deny it if you want,
national
guys, but it is true.
but only you think it's true, Anthony. Try and remember that.
No, but we don't judge science by consensus. We judge science by proving the cause of an effect. You guys misunderstand what science is. It's not about consensus.
No, that's your made-up version. Well, quantum erasers made up version.
Your delusion by consensus. That doesn't make it scientific.
Okay, can you find me any reputable scientific institution or scientific source that agrees with your bullshit that astronomy is pseudoscience? I don't listen, let me make it clear. Don't even bother to answer the question if you're going to do this, okay? I don't want something that doesn't say the words astronomy is pseudoscience. I don't want something that says something completely different that you're going to interpret to mean that. I want to see something from a reputable institution that says the words astronomy is pseudoscience. I only want that. If you can't provide that, I'm not interested in an answer.
We can simply define what science is.
Your definition
for you, but you're not going to convince the people doing science.
Yeah, Anthony, your definition is wrong, and sticking to it doesn't really help your case.
Right. I just want you to find someone that agrees with your definition, or admit that, like Oakley does sometimes, just say, "Oh, well, science has been hijacked, and it doesn't do this, but it should do." If admit that would at least be a more honest position, instead of pretending that is what science is, and therefore that means you can teach creationism in schools.
Anthony, your definition of science is not designed to promote truth. It's designed to exclude evidence that's contrary to your confirmation bias.
In your opinion.
Also, your definition of the curriculum means that
Anthony,
if anyone feels that there's ever a good reason to believe anything, that they could teach that. So anything would be on the table.
No, it has to have a good reason for it. It can't just be we can teach dog shit because it makes sense.
According to who?
A judge. Not a citation on the internet, not the rumpus, definitely not Gem Panda, and definitely not this cult in this room.
What judge?
We're not a court. We're not lawyers.
Well, that's how we decide contentious matters, don't we? We go to a judge and say, "Hey, judge, these guys think blue and we think red. Which one's correct?" And the judge will deem in his decision which one's correct.
Judges and courts don't determine science. Period.
Hey, Anthony,
they do define terms. They do that all the time. So when we have a defined term of pseudoscience being New Earth creationism, a judge would be able to tell us what pseudoscience is, and we have because we have definitions like gravity, which you guys don't know. You don't know what science is either. I think a judge is more likely to say that something that's pseudoscience will be something, I don't know, that's not based on scientific method, because that's the definition of what pseudoscience is.
The judge
theory is not science.
Either. A judge can provide a clarification on the definition for the purposes of the law at hand, not for all of life.
I think when you have a decision in law on the definition of the meaning of a word, say pseudoscience, the meaning of life or the effect on life is going to be prevalent, because it is going to fundamentally change what's taught to children if you teach things that are considered to be science when they're actually not. They're actually pseudoscientific.
Anthony, any evidence for...
let me give an explicit example here. The American law defines marijuana as having no medical use. That doesn't stop the medical profession from actually finding medical uses for it.
You're talking to the converted, mate. I know that marijuana has medical uses.
Okay, good. So we see that a judge or a lawyer or lawmaker making a definition doesn't actually change the real world.
Of course I can. I understand the legal concept is a legal fiction. But that doesn't change.
If a judge said that young Earth was...
These people are the arbiters of what we consider to be science over pseudoscience. And in this context,
only for the context of the law.
But Anthony, what is pseudoscience? It's not evidence-based. Science is evidence-based, correct?
No, the definition of pseudoscience is the mistaken belief that you are applying or adhering to scientific method. By definition, that's what it is.
The scientific method. What do you mean by the scientific method? You can't go back to Nathan and for your resource here of what the scientific method is, or quantum eraser. We know that there has to be.
You asked him, "Do you know what pseudoscience is?" He gave you the answer, and then you go on to something else. There is no path. There is no coherent path of logic
It's just not really. Well, I think where the logic failed was when Anthony, as usual, tried to define science by defining pseudoscience.
Right.
Well, no, because
Anthony.
you said in your article that New Earth creation was considered pseudoscience. So then I said, well, so then we're talking about what is considered science or pseudoscience.
Is astronomy pseudoscience? Let's go back to astronomy. Why do you think astronomy is pseudoscience?
Because no experiment by definition.
Wait. Hold on a sec. This is crux to the problem right here.
Yeah.
We don't think astronomy is a pseudoscience because it is one of the greatest sciences of our time. And it is not because we can't do experimentation. We do experimentation. We do it all the time. That's why it's a science.
Let me answer you. Your question was, why do you think astronomy is not science? And my answer is, by defining what pseudoscience is, it tells us that it is a collection of beliefs.
That's not my question. Tell me why you think astronomy is not science. Forget about what the definition
I'm trying to give you the answer, and you interrupted me. So I'll do it for a second time and see if you interrupt me again. The definition of pseudoscience, which is astronomy, is that a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on scientific method. Astrology is not based on scientific method. It is based only on observation.
Astronomy, Anthony.
Astronomy, whatever. They're both the same.
No, it's not whatever. Very important delineation between the two. Astrology is pseudoscience. Astronomy is not, and we can do experimentation. Hold on, now you're interrupting me. You're interrupting me.
I accidentally misspoke. Let me say it again so I'm clear.
You're interrupting. Let me finish my sentence, Anthony. You were wrong. We have experimentation, and science is used. The method is used, whatever that method is, because there's many methods in astronomy.
No. Scientific method is not used with astronomy.
Absolutely.
I can give you an example where scientific method has been used in astronomy.
What was the independent variable in your?
Back in the
what was your independent variable in your?
Can I finish giving my example?
No, just tell me what the independent variable was.
They were trying to
find it, Anthony.
Anthony, they were trying to figure out what was causing the change in the orbits of Uranus. And what they figured out mathematically and they used math for this, they experimentally added mathematical equations to figure out where a position of a possible planet would be and predicted the positioning of Neptune. That is science being done with experimentation using math to find a missing planet.
It isn't. There are two reasons why. One, Galileo discovered Neptune before you applied your maths. So your example that you're citing right now is an example
of Neptune.
Stop.
No,
I haven't finished speaking.
All right, let him get his other one out. Go ahead, Anthony.
No, I haven't finished with the first one.
Okay.
It is an example of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy because Galileo discovered Neptune 200 years before your example where you used maths to try and predict the position of another planet. It was already known by Galileo, Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Secondly,
Galileo logged Neptune.
Let him get it out. Let him get it out. Let him get it out.
He's lying.
Let him get it out.
Okay.
I'm not lying.
You are
Galileo
lying.
discovered Neptune.
Do I need to mute you?
The second argument is you can't use maths to make a prediction and classify that as science because it is not a valid independent variable which is required by science.
So once again, you use a definition to exclude evidence that does not meet your confirmation bias. Math most definitely is part of science. And yes, Neptune was spotted earlier, but they didn't recognize what they were looking at. They spotted it all the way back into Roman times. They thought it was a star, and they didn't track it.
So let me deal with your first point. Your first point was maths is definitely part of science. Mathematics definition. If we go to Google and we type in mathematics,
I don't care about your definitions, Tony. Math is.
This has got to be like the eighth definition we're on.
By the way, Tony, you said that math couldn't apply any variables. You have to understand what a variable is. A variable can be anything applied into an experiment that changes the conditions. And changing the numbers is a variable.
I didn't say that.
Science does not dwell on definitions, Tony, especially your interpretation of definitions, which invariably is wrong.
Yeah, really, always really distorted every time.
Anthony is using the internet, which was based off of computer science, and the laying of fiber optic cables also uses math to distribute information through the internet.
Let me just ask you this, though, Anthony. Why do you think it is that there aren't reputable science institutions that agree that astronomy is pseudoscience?
Because none of the people that are in what they quote as or what they describe as science are never, ever, 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 ever going to say that astronomy is a pseudoscience, because if it is a pseudoscience, and which by definition it is, because it doesn't have any experiments for it, it means that it's meaningless. Because in your own citation, Jeremy, it says you cannot teach the pseudosciences such as New Earth science, New Earth creation.
Right. So what you're saying is then it's really
hang on, I haven't finished. So if New Earth creation is considered to be a pseudoscience, and by extension, so would then astronomy, if they ever admitted it, you are essentially prohibiting astronomy.
What motivates them to do that, Anthony? That's really my question. What you're saying is, hang on,
money, funding,
nearly there.
brainwashing.
Can I just get this out? What you're saying is that it's useless, but they just won't admit that it's useless. So if it's useless, how is it that so many people just won't admit that it's useless? How do you think that situation? What motivates all of those people to behave in that same way?
I'm not saying that it's useless. Let's be clear. I'm saying that it is pseudoscience because it isn't following and adhering to scientific method, and by definition, it is. That doesn't mean that I'm saying it's useless. I think it's fantastic that we gaze into the night sky, but it isn't science.
Hold on, but you're saying that they won't admit it, that it's pseudoscience, and you said because then they'd have to throw it all out or something like that, right?
Well, if they admit that it was pseudoscience, applying your document from earlier where they said that they couldn't teach pseudosciences such as New Earth creation, they would also have to abolish astronomy, wouldn't they? So they would never admit that for that reason.
So you're saying all of these people who they go into astronomy, they find out that actually it's pseudoscience and really we should throw it out, but they just keep doing it because they just don't want to admit that. And everyone that's ever gone into astronomy, including all the amateurs, they all just were motivated in the same way. They all just thought, oh, well, I better not admit that this is pseudoscience because they'll throw it out. So I'll just keep doing it. Does that seem like a reasonable idea to you?
People can never agree on anything.
Do you realize that astronomy
can he answer?
If we apply what your document that you cited from earlier, which prohibits the teaching of pseudosciences like New Earth creation, then it would also, by extension, include astronomy, because astronomy doesn't have any experiment to support its claims of science.
I understand that you think it. I understand that you think it should. The point is, we live in a reality where it doesn't, and I'm trying to get to the root of that. How you account for that reality that just profoundly disagrees with you on this? Why is everyone motivated to just keep pretending that these pseudosciences are science? Why do they do that? Why are nobody else coming out and from within those fields and saying, actually, this is all just pseudoscience?
Okay, so Professor Danny Faulkner has a PhD in astronomy, correct?
Well, he's a young Earth creationist, but yes, let's carry on.
Not the but. It is a matter of fact that.
Well, no, that's a great big fat but. If we're talking about his science,
no, it doesn't matter. The but is irrelevant. It is a matter of fact that PhD holding Danny Faulkner holds a PhD in astronomy. Correct.
That's correct.
Right. So, if PhD holding astronomer Danny Faulkner was then having to admit that his science that he believes he's taught or educated in was pseudoscience, do you think he'd ever admit that?
Well, I'm not asking you about one person. I'm asking you how it is that everybody is like that. And that's the situation. That's the reality that you live in, is that everybody that goes into these fields, because it's not just astronomy, remember, is it? It's paleontology, geology, cosmology, all of those things. All of those things you say are pseudoscience as well. And yet none of the people in those fields ever actually say, actually, I went into this and found out it was just pseudoscience, do they?
Yes,
Anthony,
they do.
the only thing that you have...
Can you give me an example?
Again, all we have to do is define the term pseudoscience.
No. Look, I don't want your twisted definition of something, Anthony. I get that you can engineer a way in your twisted mind to make this true. I'm looking for other people that agree with you, that don't just make this argument, that say, yes, I think that too. Is there anyone like that? And how do you account for the fact that there isn't? That's my question. I'm not asking you to just make your argument again. I've heard it. It's bullshit.
You asked me what would motivate people to not declare these things? And the answer is because if they ever did declare it as pseudoscience, nobody would be interested in doing it, believing it to be science. It would be a waste of money, wouldn't it?
Right. So what you're saying is that everyone ever that's gone into any of these fields of science, every single person,
pseudoscience.
Every single person that's gone into one of these fields of science, the idiots, like only a few handful of idiots like you determine as pseudoscience. All of the people ever that have done that, not a single one of them has come out and gone, actually, this is just a waste of time. It's all just pseudoscience. Not one ever. Now, does that seem like a likely thing to you? Now, the answer to that question is not, well, let's go and define the words again. Let's go and have a look at what it says again. That's not where the answer to that lies, Anthony. How do you account for this situation where not one of these people has ever agreed with you on this? Why do you think that is?
Thank you for unmuting me. The reason why these people are not learning science, and when you say we don't go to the definition of, we do go to the definition of pseudoscience in the same way that we went to the definition of weight in physics and the same way that we went to the definition of gravity in physics.
Well,
these are defined terms,
Anthony. It's not the same way. What you're doing is saying we need to know the definition of science. Right. Look up the definition of pseudoscience.
Yeah.
That's not how you define. No, you define a word by looking up that word. You don't look up what you think is the opposite to that word and then say everything that isn't this is that. That's not how it works, Anthony.
Jeremy, your document that you cited before expressly said that we do not teach pseudosciences such as New Earth creation. And when I say astronomy is a pseudoscience, you then say, well, why are you saying that? And I say, because it's a defined term that's not based on scientific method. Neither of them are.
I haven't said why you're saying that. I know why you think that. I know why you think that. I haven't asked you why you think that. I'm asking you why no one agrees with you.
No.
Yes.
Only
my question. That is essentially my question. Why does no one agree with you?
Yes, so when you say when nobody agrees with me, in this room, nobody agrees with me, because in this room, it is a room of fanatics. But we have an objective reality where these things are defined.
Does anyone agree with you does anyone agree with you in objective reality that isn't like a follower of Nathan, basically a YouTube flat earther or Discord flat earther? Is there anyone separate from you? Is there anyone
anybody that defines the term pseudoscience will agree with me? Because
is there a person you can name? Not just make your stupid argument again and say anyone that agrees with me agrees with me. I'm asking you to name a specific person or a specific body that agrees with you. Or alternatively, since we both know there are no such people or bodies, explain why you think it is that no one agrees with you. And if your explanation is really, everyone was just scared they'd take the science away through all of history forever, I don't think that seems like a very good explanation.
The person that would agree with me reasonably, the objective person, would be any judge that looks at the definition for the word pseudoscience.
Well, you say that, but you would say that, wouldn't you, Anthony? What you're saying is, I agree with me. And people I imagine that they agree with me, I can imagine them agreeing with me. So people would agree. Is there an actual person, Anthony? A person with a name or an institution which actually has a name that agrees with you? No, there isn't, Anthony. Is there? Why, Anthony?
An authority, a luminary.
Yeah, I just googled it. Apparently, even Jeremy Faulkner doesn't agree with you that astronomy is a pseudoscience.
I did not say what
you said. A judge would agree with you. You don't know a judge would agree with you. That's something you've imagined.
You asked me to identify one person that would agree with me, and my answer was not the way you said it. My answer was...
I didn't say nominate an occupation of someone who might agree with you. I said name a person who agrees with you. That means give the name of the person, not the occupation of someone who, again, you imagined. There is no judge that's agreed with you, is there? Unless you can name one.
So my answer is the objective position that is not your consensus-driven reality. It is the objective position.
Okay, stop. Hold on. Where do I go to find objective positions? Where are they written down?
You go to a court. You ask them to define the term.
So until now, then, since this hasn't been to a court, your claimed objective position is actually your subjective position, isn't it? There is no objective position written down for this, is there?
Not my subjective position. You're incorrectly citing what I say. I define the term pseudoscience from internet. That is not my interpretation. That is not my definition, just the definition online. It is defined as a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded to be based on scientific method. And astrology is not based on scientific method. It is based on observation
it's
only.
Astronomy, Anthony. Astronomy.
Whatever. Astronomy, same shit.
It's not the same shit. Astrology is star signs, Anthony. It's Taurus and Aries. You're going to meet somebody lovely. That's not what it does matter. Anthony, it really matters. Every time you say astrology, you sound like a moron who doesn't know the difference between astrology and astronomy. Now, again, we're just down to you defining something. Why isn't there anyone that agrees with you? Not someone you imagine would agree with you, actually a person who has already stated that they agree with you.
Apparently not even Danny Faulkner agrees with you, bro.
No, absolutely he doesn't.
Obviously,
I've interviewed Danny Faulkner.
Obviously, there's no rational conversation in this room. I'm going to depart with you guys because I keep getting muted and I'm not able to. Jeremy will not cite my word.
I'll bow out so you can talk to other people and then you won't be muted, okay? And then you can stay on, right?
Why are the definitions so important to you? But which word you're using?
So we've just been through 2 hours. That was a total waste of my time. And you have seen how Jeremy admits that he mutes people and even admits that it is hypocritical. We have seen that the anti-flat earthers are unable to define atmospheric pressure upon request. Given that's their explanation for how we breathe, I don't think that's acceptable. They are unable to define gravity upon request. Given that's how they explain the cause of the gradient, I find that unacceptable. And they refuse to accept that they deny all evidence contrary to their opinion. They'll fight like Billy O, as we've just seen. And Jeremy insists that the teaching of New Earth creation is illegal, despite being shown how it is not. There is literally no point in discussing science with these fanatics.